Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
What's a silent luxury that rich people have that most normal people would never even notice? The ability to make one mistake without it ruining your life. This is probably the real answer honestly. Rich people can fail, recover, and try again, while one bad month can completely derail a normal person's life. That safety net is the actual luxury nobody talks about enough. There was a town that experimented with a UB, and they saw rates of folks starting their own business, investing, etc. go up. It was largely attributed to the fact they finally could make mistakes and not ruin their lives. Depends how rich we're talking about. I knew a billionaire once. He didn't carry a wallet. Nobody ever presented him with a bill for anything. It was all just taken care of by his people without a word. But if you were at the restaurant sitting at the next table over, you wouldn't notice a thing. Also, all of his clothes, even the casual clothes, was custom made for him. Never had any branding on it. My grandfather was a large-scale corporate cattle rancher. He had accounts at all local stores in our town, including large supermarkets, department stores, and gas stations. The proprietor and/or manager would just say, "It's okay, we know it's you." Quote, "As a child it amazed me. My old job was one where I could charge stuff to people's accounts, and it made dealing with high-maintenance clients so much easier. Groups of ladies would just take a bunch of clothes off the rack, take them home and bring back whatever didn't fit. I'd just charge their account and refund whatever made its way back, if it ever did." My company's former CEO was possibly the most down-to-earth billionaire in existence. I often saw him catch the train to work, and overheard him changing his own travel arrangements to cheaper options. But he also booked Elton John for his wife's birthday, and spent the first few months of his semi-retirement watching his beloved Cubs win their first World Series in a century. His charitable foundation also quietly funds just about every charity in Wales, amongst many others. I suppose what I'm getting at is that, at that level of wealth, you get to decide what is truly important to you and actually make it happen, as opposed to just dreaming. Yeah, they say money doesn't buy happiness, which is bullshit. Everybody knows where their happiness, money gets rid of all of the obstacles. I work with Bay Area rich people, and they have community that deeply extends their opportunities. If you wanted to pick up Burning Man tomorrow, you can use your mate's RV without charge. Want to make exhibits? Come to your colleague's airplane hangar, which he owns and runs as a metallurgy workshop. Never created a propane-fueled dragon sculpture before? Your friend's husband is bringing his team to make it for you. Here's enough ketamine to keep you high all quarter thanks to your iFounder chum. Hated your dragon installation because you were in a dark K-hole and couldn't communicate to the craftsman your vision. Your mate's wife is on the board of a commercial office association, and they will buy it as public art, giving you money and a tax write-off. Edit, spelling and thank you for the awards. That description really makes the privilege tangible. The dragon thing is a real story, I am sure of it. Quiet. Rich people live in places that are quiet. Even if they are in the middle of a city, they are away from busy roads, have significant landscaping to dampen noise, etc. Have quiet appliances, soundproofing in their homes, exceptionally quiet cars. The only noises they hear are the ones that they want. This is so true. I visited someone who lived in a luxury high-rise condo in the middle of a large city, and it was like being in a soundproof room. Plus, none of the floors squeaked. The parking garage was even quiet. Contrast that to where I live, and the house shakes when cars drive by. This is more of an upper middle class and higher than straight up rich, but not having to budget. I grew up very poor, and I'm reasonably well off now, and that has been one of the biggest differences. You go to a fancy steakhouse. There's a burger dinner plate on the menu for $25. There's a steak for $95. You feel like a steak today. You just order the steak. The friend who you invited along, who isn't in the same socioeconomic class as you, is looking at the burger plate wondering if they can get it cheaper if they order just the burger without the side, while sweating at how you're planning on splitting the bill. This is a contrast that people born well off don't realize, and that even everyday people may not consider just how big of a deal it is in terms of cognitive load. Splitting the bill at a restaurant in general is a good one. A lot of my friends from more privileged backgrounds will actually fight for the check so they can bank up on points for their credit cards, and then just get a Venmo from the others, sometime, without really stressing about having potentially hundreds of dollars on their card. I stayed super close with my buddies from my first garbage min-wage job. All of us have great jobs now, and while no one is rich, we would all probably be considered upper middle class. I remember back in the day nickel and dimming each other on any outings. Now whenever we get together, one of us will just get the bill without any actual schedule or care as to what the other's things cost in relation to theirs. It feels good to live like that, knowing there is no stress in owing anyone or needing to pay anything back, as well as knowing you can afford to not be paid back. The gift of preventative maintenance, particularly for your own body. Time without constant pressure, not just free time, but the ability to make decisions without every choice being tied to survival, bills, or exhaustion. Being able to rest without guilt, turn down bad opportunities, solve problems quickly with money, or disappear for a while without your life collapsing. A lot of wealthy people also buy convenience in ways most people barely notice. Things getting handled before they become stressful. Good healthcare fast, quiet spaces, reliable transportation, access through connections instead of waiting. From the outside it can look like they just seem calmer, but a big part of that calm comes from having buffers between themselves and everyday stress. I've flown private with my boss a few times, and private is awesome for all the obvious reasons, but there was one thing I hadn't realized until I went with him. The timing. It leaves when you get there. There is no stress about when to leave, how early to leave, traffic, etc. You just go when you're ready and the plane leaves when you're on it. Made me realize a lot of his life is like that. If there is an important meeting, it starts when he gets there, even if he is late. People joke about the wealthy believing the world revolves around them, but it does. Everything in their lives literally runs on their schedule, so it's hard to make them understand how the rest of humanity lives. A gargantuan amount of social capital, and I'm not talking upper middle class, but really rich people. Their entire work day consists of managing connections, because if you need something in a world where everyone has functionally infinite money, you need something else than money to get what you want. This grants them a safety net that others don't have, because even if they go bankrupt, they'll always have a friend with a third vacation home where they can stay until all the decade-long lawsuits have been settled. In my opinion, this is where the line between working class, upper middle class if you want, and rich really is. No exact dollar amount, but at a safety net that exists outside of money. Hate to say, but this is really Epstein's life and circle of acquaintances. He was connected to half the world's billionaires. Further, my understanding is that this was Epstein was good at. Like, he was the guy who knows a guy, and he knew everyone because he knew everyone. He had a talent for connecting pieces and seeing who needed what from whom. That would start out with him facilitating connections between people, and over time morphed into him who could give you the influence and experiences that money can't buy, because everyone comes to him, so he knows everyone, and he can track who can do what for whoever else. Underage girls became just one of his services that he could connect people with. Laundry service. I remember when I was a kid, my mom paid some lady that hung out at the laundromat to do our laundry for us. I mentioned that to a teacher or something and they assumed we were rich. We weren't, not even close. It was literally some trailer park lady that set up shop and did people's laundry for like $5. But looking back as an adult, that's definitely rich people behavior, especially if it includes pickup and drop off. 100% agree. I'm not rich and I use a pickup, drop off, wash and fold service, and it's absolutely the bougiest part of my life. I travel a lot for work and use wash and fold services, and it really does feel like such a luxury. Plus it's nice to have all my laundry done before I get home from a work trip, so it's one less chore to do when I finally get home. I pick it up, I drop it off, it's a delight. Quote. Elizabeth Currid Halkett wrote a book called The Sum of Small Things, A Theory of the Aspirational Class. She suggested that inconspicuous consumption, as opposed to conspicuous consumption we all learned about in school, is the biggest one. Money spent on stuff like education, personal services, health and longevity activities. And as others have said, a lot of money affords the possibility of reducing or removing friction related to decisions, time, and outside pressures. This is precisely why it's a complete lie when the rich say, we have the same 24 hours that you do. No, you have way more hours, because you bought so many other people's time. Medical appointment on call as a concierge service. Example, if you pay a medical clinic a membership fee, you are bumped to the first of the line and there will always be a doctor on call. This is what used to be called private practice. This is how much life has changed. What used to be normal is now a specialty service with a big price tag. That'll be $1 for reading your comment. Being able to do nothing on trips because you don't have to make the most of every vacation day, and you'll probably be back to Italy again soon anyway. I remember a conversation with a former boss about me getting so tired after a vacation because I try to cram as much as I can during the trip. And he goes, well, you don't have to do everything at once, you can always go back. No sir, my wallet says otherwise. Or maybe the feeling of enjoying things leisurely, even if it means leaving experiences on the table, is worth more to them than being able to brag about all the things we saw on vacation. I admit I am well off, but when we travel internationally, I'm not thinking, well, I can always come back to Edinburgh, as the reason for sleeping in or laying around the Airbnb. I'm on vacation, and to be honest, we are still seeing sights and visit NG attractions while there. But I don't want to be out doing that at the ass crack of dawn until 9 p.m. at night. I want to go back home relaxed, and not exhausted because I had to fit it all in. To chase the goals and still survive if it fails. I only recently became what could be considered rich. My answer is time. I can just pay people to do things I don't want to do. I no longer clean my house, because it is easier for me to spend $250 every 2 weeks for my housekeeper to do it. I spend my free time doing what I enjoy. My answer is time. That is the real answer. Buying time, either for the general BS that people have to do, cook, clean, shop, maintain, errand after errand, you can just pay someone to deal with it. Not to mention all the line skipping for travel and transportation. If someone has enough money, they can wake up in NY at 9 a.m. and be having dinner in Paris that night. Second item, with enough cash, is access.